This video is going to show you how to use the unit circle to solve for these values. So you will need a unit circle for this, or you will need to be looking at a copy of the unit circle. Remember, when we are doing the unit circle, cosine values are the x values, y sine is the y value. To get tangent, we do the ratio of y over x. Okay, y over x. So, cosine of 30, what you do is you get your unit circle, you find 30 degrees, and you look at the x value, rad 3 over 2. So your answer of cosine of 30 is just rad 3 over 2. Okay, if we wanted to do sine of 45 degrees, you find 45 degrees. Sine is the y value, rad 2 over 2. Okay, now for tangent of 60, what you need to do is you find 60, and we are going to divide the y value by the x value. So we're going to do rad 3 over 2 divided by 2. So we get rad 3 over 2. We're going to divide it by 2. Let me do it on the up here. So rad 3 over 2 divided by 1 over 2. Now remember, whenever we're dividing fractions, we like to keep, change, flip, or multiply by the reciprocal. So that turns into rad 3 over 2. I change to multiplication. I'm flipping 1/2 to 2 over 1. When I simplify this, I get 2 rad 3 over 2. The 2's cancel out. I'm just left with a rad 3. Okay, so I have rad 3. Okay, now sine of 30. I go to my unit circle. I find 30. Sine is the y value, so it is just 1/2. Tangent of 45, I'm going to take the y value and divide it by the x value. So I'm going to do my work up here. So that gives me rad 2 over 2 divided by rad 2 over 2. Well, if you notice, I have the same thing being divided by itself, so that just equals 1. Cosine of 45, I go to 45. Cosine is my x value, rad 2 over 2. Sine of 60, I go to 60 degrees. Sine is rad 3 over 2. Cosine of 60, that's the x value. That's just 1/2. Tangent of 30, so tangent, I'm going to take 1/2 and I'm going to divide it by rad 3 over 2. 1/2 divided by rad 3 over 2. Again, we keep the first one the same. We change to multiplication. We flip the second one. That gives me 2 over 2 rad 3. The 2's cancel out. I'm just left with 1 over rad 3. But we can't have radicals in the denominator. So I multiply by rad 3 on top and bottom. And that gives me rad 3 over 3. So it's rad 3 over 3. Okay, sine of 0, so I go to 0 degrees. Sine is my y value, so I get 0. Tangent of 90, so tangent of 90, I'm going to take the y value and divide it by the x value. So that gives me 1 divided by 0. We can't divide by 0, so this is undefined, or does not exist. Cosine of 0, so I go here. Cosine's my x value. 0 is 1. Sine of 90, so I go back to my circle. So you see it's a lot of going back and forth to your circle. So sine of 90 is just 1. It's my y value. Cosine of 90 is 0, if you look at it. And then tangent of 0, I take the y value, I divide it by the x value, which just simplifies to 0. So, now we want to name a trig ratio using sine that is equivalent to cosine of 30. Well, cosine of 30 degrees, we found that up here, it's rad 3 over 2. So we just need to find a sine value that gives us that same value. Remember, sine is y's. So if I look, I could say sine of 60. That works. That gives me rad 3 over 2. I could say sine of 120. So you either have sine of 60 degrees or sine of 120 degrees. Those would be the only two that work, because if we come down here, all of my y values are going to be negative. So therefore, it would not work. So only sine of 60 and sine of 120. Okay, now, Robin claims that tangent 45 is equivalent to cosine 90. Bradford very adamantly disagrees with Robin and declares that tangent 45 is equivalent to cosine of 0. Who is correct? Well, first, we need to find tangent of 45 degrees. Did we find that up here? Yep, we did right here. Tangent of 45 degrees equals 1. Okay. Now, all we need to do is figure out what cosine of 90 is and what cosine of 0. So cosine of 90 degrees, cosine is our x value, so cosine of 90 is 0, which does not equal 1, so that does not work. If we go to cosine of 0 degrees, cosine of 0 degrees, my x value is 1. So therefore, Bradford is correct. So, this is Section 13, Topic 2, Practice Questions from Math Nation. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me through email or Remind.